Happy Saturday, y'all. Back with the Floating Head Chronicles. This, again, is Chloe Driver. She was the mother of Hanna Driver. She is on trial now for unaliving her 13-month-old daughter in December of 2020. Now, she took a knife to her daughter 4 times and once to her own neck. She didn't think that she would survive those injuries, and that's not her intention, was to not. However, she did, and her daughter did not make it to the hospital. They pronounced her deceased. Rest in peace, baby Hannah. Now, to recap, she was one of 4 wives of Mr. Benjamin Ben Michaels, also known as Z. They lived nomadic. They lived in vans. They hopped around. So that day that this happened, they all were at a 12 tribes sermon, which 12 tribes is where they belong in their little cult. Call it what you want, but that's what I'm going to call it. And the sermon was talking about embracing death and not being scared. And Chloe was talking about how certain things, like she would just be in the kitchen and see a knife and believe that that was a sign to try to tell herself that it was to unalive herself and that she shouldn't be there anymore. She started investigating and questioning the religion part that she had belonged to and looking up things in her Google searches of, is this a sin to be living with a married man? And is this a sin to have a child with a married man? And she believed that the baby was a sin. She even talked about it. She believed that breastfeeding her child was like she was producing sins into her baby. So clearly she needed some sort of mental guidance. Well, they don't believe in any of that. So they believe in natural medicines, not going to the doctors and doing everything the normal way. So she wanted to get on CBD and wanted to order it like a commercial. And her husband was like, no, you're going to use good old Billy Bob's that I know that's a part of the community, and you're going to try that out. And she believed that whatever she was using was causing her to have more psychosis. But when they did an evaluation of, what was in her system, she had no narcotics whatsoever, nothing in her system whatsoever. So it just kind of counteracted what she was believing. I don't know if it was in her brain or what, like she was already going through it. I don't know. Now, this is her husband, Benjamin Ben Michael. I don't know why they all look like Manson, but these types of guys, like if I saw that dude walking down the road, I'd cross the street because he's giving me heebie-jeebie vibes. And this girl was definitely half of his age. So I don't know what she saw in this man, because girl, you straight up lying, you saying that he was an attractive dude, because golly, is he scary. Now, we had Jason Spillers come to the stand, and Jason Spillers was a friend of Z. So he talked about the polygamous and nomadic lifestyle of Chloe and Ben, and he talked about their vegan diet being pretty strict and their unique health practices like urine drinking and dark therapy, where they would black out all the windows and meditate for hours on end to find higher beliefs in God or whatever they believed in. I don't even know. They had Hebrew names given to them, and they went by the Hebrew names. Jason also stated that he lived in a van with them, and they all seemed to get along. No arguments, no bickering. They had traditional gender roles. And he talked about how the baby loved him, and what really just irked me was the way that he talked about females in general. He said him and Z had intellectual conversations, but these women were incapable of it. They're not capable of being leaders. Men are always natural born leaders, and yada yada. Like, maybe your females that you chose don't have the intellect to understand what you're talking about. However, the rest of us would be like, what? No one's drinking the fucking Kool-Aid, man. Now, they were going to leave because, like I said, nomadic lifestyle. So they were going to leave and go to another location. And when everybody was packed up and ready to go, they went to go check on Chloe and Hannah. and immediately they heard a scream come from Z, into which Jason went to where he was and saw that Chloe was holding hands with Hannah. Hannah was on the bed, and they both were. It was a massacre. It was a terrible scene. He was choked up even talking about it. Well, day 4 of the trial, Dr. McClendon Garrett is a forensic psychologist, and she was called upon by the defense. So she was talking about how she, in 4 hours of spending time with Chloe Driver, had diagnosed her with schizoaffective disorder, cannabinoid usage, and borderline personality disorder. So these were all her findings in 4 hours, which she said was actually very long, lengthy process for them to make these determinations of someone's mental, so which is scary to me because this her life is at hand of these doctors that are trying to figure out if she's mentally capable or not. Now, she said that she talked about Chloe in her youth and saying that the parents then heard really didn't get along. They had a lot of issues. She started using narcotics, and that was actually causing worse issues for her. And then she met up with Ben. And she also talked about how it was fine in the beginning until other wives were brought in. And then she's the only one that actually had a baby with Ben. The rest of them don't have children. She wasn't getting the attention that she was getting from him before, and she wanted it just to be her and her baby, and she expressed that, and he wasn't interested in listening to that portion. So she started questioning everything that she was believing in. She even at one point wanted to leave him and called her parents to come pick her up, and he had taken the baby and said, "You're not taking the baby." So she left without her child, and then ended up going back because he was not going to let her see the child again unless she came back to him, and which she did. So now she said that she was starting to see signs where she would look at the kitchen and there'd be a knife there, and she would say that it was a sign saying, "Hey, you shouldn't be here anymore." She thought the only way to get out of this group was to remove her and her daughter from this lifestyle, and she truly believed that. Now, I do believe that this woman is guilty as hell. And I do believe that those diagnoses doesn't free her of her sins and what she did. However, it does seem like she has had mental her whole life and was just never treated properly for it. I also have some wondering of did she have any postpartum being a young mother and in this weird lifestyle and not getting treated and not going to the doctor, if she had some psychosis worse off in her brain, because postpartum could really get a hold of people, especially for young mothers. And if you already have a bad mental, your thought process is crazy. Now, just wanted to show you Jason Spiller's. His testimony was, gosh, it's hard to even listen to him speak because he just thinks that he's smarter than everybody else in the world, and he just sounds crazy as shit. But this is the kind of guy that you would never want to bring around your 13-month-old baby. Take mental note. Do not bring this man around children or people of the... I mean, I'm not judging him based on his looks, but once you listen to how he speaks, not a safe environment for that child whatsoever. I'm curious to know what Chloe's parents think in the situation. I'd love to hear from them because you already rescued your daughter once, and then you saw that this is not a healthy lifestyle for your grandchild, and you didn't have someone go check or do a mental wellness or look into this case a little further, because this man would not let her have conversations even with her own parents without being supervised. She wasn't allowed to have a phone. She didn't have a job. She wasn't allowed to talk to people unless it was in their own group. So it was definitely very isolated, and the environment for that child was not safe as it was. So either way, that baby was destined for scary times in its lifestyle. Now, this has been pretty much her expression the whole time in trial. And I don't know, when I look at her, I'm just like, you got something going on. Like, she mentally, I could tell, is not right. And there's more to this girl's story that I would love to hear about, the lifestyle and everything else in the background, because I'm sure there was a lot not presented or that she's not speaking about. I would be interested in listening to phone calls from prison from her, because I'm sure those conversations are wild. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Have you guys been watching this, and what have you found?